Well, first, let me begin by thanking everybody for being here today. We are here today as the beginning of the rollout of our ADA self-evaluation and transition plan, and I should say our proposed ADA self-evaluation and transition plan. The importance of this day and the importance of this process is to get your input and your feedback. It's really what is the most invaluable component to a transition plan. There are some people that I'd like to thank, beginning with some people that I have the privilege of working with every day. Our DelDOT ADA Title II transition plan interim ADA coordinator was my good friend Ralph Reeb. He did a fantastic job in putting together the framework of the self-evaluation and transition plan, as well as being an architect of the self-evaluation. I'd like to thank Jim Pappas, who is the assistant director of quality. I'd also like to thank my boss, the director of civil rights, Marty Dobson. And I'd like to thank my civil rights team, who's just been fantastic in their support and their finding of the importance of ADA compliance. I'd like to give a special thanks to our ADA compliance team, Joe Ellis, Linda Osecki, and our new addition, Todd Webb. They're working hard each and every day out in the field to ensure that what we do is ADA compliant, and I'm happy and lucky to have their expertise and their knowledge. But we're here today to talk about the ADA self-evaluation and transition plan, and I just want to go over a few of the topics. The purpose of today's event, as I said, to get your input. Nothing is more valuable to this process than that. We've put a lot of hard work over the last 2 years to get to where we are today, but this is the beginning, and the terrific thing about an ADA transition plan or any transition plan is it's a living, breathing document, and the importance of public input is not just important today, but it's going to be important to the evolution of our transition plan. Why now? We'll discuss a little bit where we are, some of our recent accomplishments, our transition strategies, our significant challenges, and of course, what happens next. The why now. We'll start with the new proposed standards, the PROAG, on the pedestrian right-of-way accessibility guidelines. While not yet adopted as federal law, they are the preferred accessibility guidelines of FHWA, the Federal Highway Administration, who provides oversight for our compliance. But until they are adopted, we're at a certain stage of ambiguity. We're between the ADAG, which was fantastic guidelines, but I don't think was ever meant to truly approach the pedestrian right-of-way. It was more geared towards, addressing facilities, buildings, never the link to and from those facilities. So having a PROAG put in place, I think, will provide a great deal of clarification and give us much more guidance and specificity as to what we actually need to do to be compliant. The state strategy for policy and spending, Executive Order number 26. The state strategy for policy and spending is pivotal on how government agencies and government entities allocate their budget. With regards to transportation, we're very, very fortunate in that ADA components, sidewalk and curb ramp construction, and the evaluation of paratransit to make it more efficient, more effective, are level 1 and level 2 components of that executive order. So there are priorities, not just to the department, but there are state priorities as well. The increasing needs, the aging population, et cetera. We are a great state to live in, and we have people coming from all across the tri-state area, all across the Northeast to come and live in Delaware because, one, of our accessibility, two, a number of great qualities, including our housing. The cost of living is much less expensive here, but also, We also have a very, very active disabilities community. Persons with disabilities living in Delaware are far more active and far more involved with the community, perhaps in just about any other part of the state. We have a transit system that provides paratransit to anyone who living in the state who qualifies. We are the only state in the country that does that, which goes to our better access to fixed route transit. Our paratransit system is fantastic, but we need to provide more options to individuals with disabilities. It's important that we not only have a great fixed route system, that the buses are accessible, but we're able to get to and from those buses as well. And part of that is to provide better connectability. That's what our curb ramp and sidewalk program is all about. We need to do all we can to ensure that all Delawareans and our visitors have access to the community and all components of the community. I know the department, I know that our secretary finds great value in individuals with disabilities as contributors, as employees, as community leaders, and it's a priority for us to ensure that we are able to have everybody have access to all of those facilities. And we have the FHWA recommendations. In 2011, FHWA did an evaluation of our civil rights program and found some deficiencies with regards to ADA compliance. Those deficiencies included having to do what we're doing now, which is having done our self-evaluation and providing our transition plan. I'd like to say we were further ahead than all other entities, all other states. I've been told that we're doing a pretty good job, but we are where we are now. We are forward thinking and we're making great progress. One of the requirements that FHWA had for us was to hire an ADA coordinator, and as you can see, they succeeded in that, and my job is to ensure that we move forward with the transition plan. Kind of a status overview. We are well along in some areas. With our transit, as I discussed earlier, our paratransit system is the most expansive in any state. We provide statewide service. We're required to provide service within 3/4 of a mile of a fixed route area. As many of you know, we go far beyond that. And that's a real challenge. There's some sustainability challenges that are there with that. So we have to make all of our transit options far more accessible than what they currently are. Our public buildings, most of DelDOT's public buildings are up to standard, and they will continue to be reevaluated. Standards change, buildings deteriorate, and we need to ensure that we're doing all that we can to ensure that the public has access, full access to all of our public facilities. Our programs, we're updating our programs as we're going along. That's been a part of this process. We have implemented a number of changes, and I think that we'll be better served in the future on how we not just incorporate what we do with regards to construction, but some of our program changes will include the involvement of the community as well. We have work to do in other areas. Sidewalks, especially curb ramps. Many of them are being remediated as they are encountered. And we have a number of things that are taking place throughout the state, a number of projects. We have successful projects in what you recently may have seen along down towards Route 13 in the Court Street area around Legislative Mall, connecting to the other side of Route 13. That was quite the challenge, and it was done so successfully, and I think that most of the feedback that we've received thus far has been complimentary. We're excited about the new Route 1 project in Rehoboth. Everybody knows that we've had some pedestrian issues in Route 1 for quite some time, and we're taking advantage of making sure that we provide every attribute to to ensure safety and access for all Delawareans and all our visitors. It's a resort area. We have people that not just enjoy it year-round, but we have people that come here, and it's representative of Delaware as a whole. So we want to ensure that everybody has access and that everybody can safely move around town. Public information. A work group formed to improve current methods. We know that we have to do a much better job in informing the public with regards to how we're moving forward. This is a step towards that. As I said, you will play an active role in the transition plan. You're the ones who can certainly provide me with the information and the input that I need to ensure that you're getting the quality construction, the quality service that you need to move around in your communities. I'm going to rely on that. That's going to be, paramount to me doing my job well. So we'll be sure that we provide the proper contact information. We have our new website that's up, which I'll talk a little bit more about shortly, which will provide a great avenue for individuals to be able to contact me directly about problem areas, in your community. Maintenance, we just recently finished our sidewalk maintenance policy. It's been recently adopted. That's been a big step. One of the important things that often gets overseen, particularly when it comes to those of us living in the community with disabilities, is, there's already a challenge sometimes with mobility devices of getting in and out of a home with just having a proper ramp on your home. But when it snows or other elements take place, or if there's cracks in sidewalks, it makes it all the more challenging. So I think the new sidewalk policy, which we will make available for public use, it's unfair for me to talk about if it's not available for the public to be able to see and know exactly what is entailed. I think that we've made strides there that certainly will improve, whether it's snow removal or addressing cracks in the sidewalk and the other areas that may cause obstructions that ultimately may cause difficulties for all of us to get around, as we have a right to do. Some of our recent accomplishments include we've completed an inventory of the state-owned pedestrian facilities. We hired a private consultant to review over 500 miles of what we know is state-owned pedestrian right-of-way. We have that inventory. We completed the self-evaluation of state-owned facilities and programs. We've developed and adopted a maintenance policy, as I mentioned before. We've drafted the transition plan, which is why we're here, and it's surely not perfect until it has your input. We've hired a full-time ADA coordinator. I am here, and again, as I said, I followed somebody that had a great deal of knowledge about the department and about the need in Ralph Reed. So we're making progress. We'll continue to move forward, and again, your involvement's going to be important to that process. Additionally, we've assigned 3 additional full-time staff to the ADA compliance team. When I initially got here, I was the ADA compliance team with a great deal of peripheral support, but we now have 3, well-informed inspectors, well-informed individuals who have not only knowledge but a great deal of passion about ADA compliance. We've developed an accessibility website. As I mentioned before, the website's something that I'm very excited about because it not only gives me an opportunity to inform you about what may be going on in the future with regards to addressing our inventory, but it also gives me the opportunity to have your input more expeditiously and much more easier. I think it's going to be important for you to review the website. I think it'll be invaluable to have your feedback about that, and certainly keep me updated on what your needs are. So I encourage you to review the website and provide some input on that as well. We developed an ADA compliance inspection process for construction projects. Currently today, we are involved in almost every construction project that has curb ramps, sidewalks, that affects the pedestrian right of way. Right now, we're doing the very best we can to be as timely as possible in getting out to inspect. We've had a great deal of patience from our construction section because they realize and understand the importance of ADA compliance as well. They have worked really hard to, again, they're well knowledgeable. They have great experience. Again, they have passion. I couldn't have better people out in the field to review on your behalf. We conducted a reevaluation of DMV facilities and programs. Recently, we had a self-evaluation of three of our DMVs statewide. We wanted to check the accessibility of the public areas of those facilities. And overall, I think that we were pretty pleased with what we found in the public area. We have some areas that were more problematic that are more Title I ADA components, but with regards to Title II, we're okay. We have some deficiencies that goes without saying. We're working with DMV and the Office of Management and Budget to put together a separate transition plan for those deficiencies as well. But again, this is another area where we're being proactive with our remediation of these problems. Currently, no additional work is needed at this time with regards to buildings. All of our buildings are ADA compliant to the standard that they were in construction. That said, buildings deteriorate and policies update. So over the next few years, what I'll be incorporating is doing an evaluation on all of our facilities to ensure our public areas are fully accessible, much like we did with the Division of Motor Vehicles. There are design standards, although there is continuing dialogue regarding these issues. At this time, there's no additional work needed there, but that's an ongoing process. Again, this is a situation where policies change, there's updates, and your input sometimes can spark some changes that we need to make there as well. It's not so much how we do things that are part of our design standards, but how we present that to contractors and to those that are out there providing the construction. It's important for them to have all the detail that they need. The rest areas. Our rest areas we're pretty confident our rest areas are, for the most part, at this time there's no remedial work, again, to the date that they were constructed. We're confident that they met ADA compliance. That said, we have had one occasion where something was identified, and we are working to take remedial action on that. But overall, they're in pretty good shape, and we're happy to have them be so. I mean, again, this is another area where we have not just Delawareans, but we have people who are coming into or coming through the state, and our rest areas are representative of the rest of the state and how we carry ourselves, even with regards to ADA compliance. Our toll facilities, we have no additional work needed with regards to that. And again, I said, as I mentioned earlier, our website. Our website is, it's new. It's a little bare bones at the moment, but I'm really counting on your input to let us know what you want and what you need, so they can be most effective to you and the best channel, a great channel to be able to communicate with me. Our policies, other than the public information involvement policy, at this time we're comfortable with that. We have, as I said, recently adopted a new, our sidewalk policy has been updated. We've adopted the complete streets policy for the department. And we are working on a number of internal policies that are going to provide a more efficient and effective way to take the remedial action that we need for our ADA compliance. And most importantly, try to set things in place to assure that we're being proactive as opposed to reactive. That's not just effective in access, but certainly we want to be conscious of the budgetary impact that being proactive has. Our pedestrian facilities, continuing with our transition strategies, our pedestrian facilities, modifications to sidewalks, crosswalks, traffic signals, our pedestrian signals, they comprise the largest amount of our transition work. Our public right-of-way is a facility in itself, and we know that we have a great deal of work there. Again, we're addressing those issues through any number of different avenues. We are intending to make these modifications through all of our work activities, including pavement rehabilitation. Our new capital projects, of course, will be fully ADA compliant. New signal projects, intersection improvements, and standalone projects. With regards, as I said, I couldn't be more grateful with our pavement rehab program, because another instance where we're being proactive is with the connectability. As we talked about the transit system, we've been working with the with EDC and our pavement rehab program, as it probably really touches more surface than any other section that we have, to try to incorporate bus pads where we can, to ensure that they're updated and that they're up to standard during those projects. We've collaborated with ETC to make that happen, and again, I couldn't thank our quality section enough for their work in that area as well. We have, like I said, the upcoming project and a new capital project in Rehoboth, and we're excited about bringing Rehoboth up to date with regards to standards, and we will continue to work in all areas. And again, it's with regards to standalone projects. Your feedback is going to be very important for us to identify some of these areas. You live in your communities, and you know where your problem areas are, and you know what challenges you have with getting around. So I'm going to count on you to bring that information to me, and we'll do what we can to incorporate those problem areas into the transition plan as well. Our public information involvement policy. This policy is currently being reviewed to see whether there are more effective and efficient ways to provide information to and receive information from persons with disabilities. I think the website is a step towards that, but as ADA coordinator, it's my job to reach out to advocacy groups, to participate in outreach with the community, to do all I can to involve the community's input to ensure that we're meeting the needs of the community. I think that the website will be a fantastic tool for us to get information out in a more free and expeditious way. Results of the review that we're doing, including any proposed modification, will be reviewed by the State Council for Persons with Disabilities. I can't thank Kyle Hodges and the State Council for Persons with Disabilities enough for their input and their participation in this process as well. They were inclusive, and they were insightful in some of their remarks as we worked through the process of developing this transition plan. Some of our significant challenges. A 2% cross slope. That's a significant impact to landscape and hilly places. And when I talk about 2% cross slope, many people who navigate down a sidewalk may not notice that 2%. Most of us believe it's flat, and we're quite aware of it when it's not. 2% doesn't sound like a whole lot, but those of you who, like I, navigate our way around the community know that if a sidewalk is sloped, more than 2%, we can feel it, and it does have a direct effect on our ability to get around the community. It's been a significant challenge. It's always a challenge in areas that where we have hilly areas. Unfortunately, the area isn't flat. Delaware's flatter than most. We're certainly not San Francisco, but we do have our challenges. And in those areas, we will comply with ADA compliance to the maximum extent feasible. We will do the very best that we can, and certainly document for whatever reason should we not be able to meet that 100% compliance in those areas. Changing standards, the PROAG, as I said earlier, PROAG has not yet been adopted, but it's going to have a major impact on what our standards are and how we move forward. I'm excited about it because, again, it'll provide more precise, more adequate detail to the pedestrian right-of-way, and more importantly, I think it provides a broader spectrum of accessibility. So we have a lot to be excited about with regards to that, and we're just crossing our fingers that it happens sooner rather than later. Maintenance, mostly budget and staffing for snow removal. You know, it's a challenge for all of us to be patient when we have snow on the ground, particularly us, because we don't get the amount of snow that they do in other areas where they could be prepared year-round for snow at any time. And particularly over the past few years, it's been feast or famine when it comes to snow. So we know that it's important for everybody to have the ability to get out of their house. It's important for everybody to have the ability to have, to be able to get through, a winter storm safely and know that emergency response is available. So we're doing what we can to implement the new maintenance policy, sidewalk maintenance policy. I think we've identified some things there, but still we have some challenges such as budgeting and of course staffing for snow removal. Our audible signals. The interesting thing about audible signals is not everyone appreciates the tones. I can say the same with regards to our truncated domes. We have some, even within our disabilities community, we have some disagreements from time to time as to what should be ADA compliant and what is not. And while there are certainly challenges, we will do what we are required to do by law to incorporate audible signals. And currently, I think with our audible signals, we do them as they are requested. PROAG and other standards may change in the future that change how we go about this process and other processes. But currently we will do everything that we can upon request to install audible signals certainly when they're requested and when the budget allows. What happens next? Well, we review the draft self-evaluation and transition plan with the public, which is where we are right now. Again, I've said it more times than you probably want to hear at this point, but your input is invaluable to us. It's really the most important part of this process. So I'm going to count on your input, count on your questions and comments to do what we can to provide something that best meets the needs of the community. Make adjustments as appropriate based on the comments that we received. We're going to publish the proposed final, and the final is really not the proper word. As I said before, it's a living, breathing document. It will change as we make progress. We will have priorities change as updates and standards change, but ultimately we will continue to move forward, and a lot of that's going to depend on your input and even your oversight. We will budget for implementation. We are currently working on our budget, and our primary consideration is that we believe that we can get most of these things done over a 10-year period of time. I'm optimistic, and in seeing what I do every day, with just what we do in our standard operations every day. We're not waiting. Nobody's waiting for the transition plan to take place. Nobody waited for the self-evaluation to take place. We are addressing these things as they come about. We're not waiting for the transition plan to be finalized. We recently had a clarification with regards to the Department of Justice and Department of Transportation's clarified what an alteration is, and that's expanded our how we approach curb ramps to meet and satisfy the Kinney versus Jerusalem agreement. So even with that, we'll each and every day, just in our daily operations, we'll be doing more to address curb ramps. So one of the important things that I'll be doing over the next year, well into the future, is I'll report annually on our progress. I'll report to our secretary, and of course I'll report to the Federal Highway Administration. That's a level of accountability that I'm looking forward to, not just as someone who's working to improve accessibility, but somebody who uses these facilities each and every day in a way that is directly impacted by what we're trying to do here. So that annual report, I'll report to you. I'll report to you whether it's on an individual basis, but you'll certainly be made aware yearly as to the progress that we made. And I want to thank everybody for their involvement. I want to thank you for your time and participation for coming out here. Again, the department is dedicated to access for all Delawareans. I know that our secretary is dedicated and committed to access for all Delawareans, equal access for all Delawareans. We are moving forward. Is the plan perfect? No, not yet. It doesn't have your input, your feedback, but that's where we are. I'll provide us, information. You'll see behind me the information for how to contact me, whether it's through the website, whether it's through direct email, or you can call me at any time.